end of 2024 coming to an end. That's crazy how time flies. I'm going to talk about my favorite DC Multiverse comic-inspired figures. So no movie figures. No Keaton. No Bale. No whatever. All comic book style figures. This is my top 5. And I will go 5 through 4. Then have my honorable mentions. Then have my number 1 pick. And then have my worst McFarlane DC Multiverse comic-inspired figure of the year. Overall, I think it's been a great year for McFarlane. I actually think it's been a great year for every toy company. A lot of them had some weird issues. McFarlane was no different. They had that goofy wave, remember? Remember way back in like March? $40 for this thing? I don't know what they were thinking. We still don't know what happened with that. But through all the ups and downs, I still don't like collector's editions either. I think they're still overpriced at $30. Regardless, I had a fun time collecting this stuff. So let's get into it. Next on Toy Games. Toy Games! Yeah! It's you and me, baby! Toy Games! I can't take it anymore! It's Toy Games! At number 5 is a big surprise. It's Ambush Bug. He was not on my radar. Even when I seen the reveal, he was not on my radar. I forget who bought him. Maybe Bones bought him. Someone bought him, and I was like, he's fun. Saw him at GameStop, and really what elevated it for me is playing dress up with him. Now, is that why he's my favorite or one of in my top 5? Yes. Yes, is he a perfect figure? Well, he's on just a clean, well, almost a clean green buck. There's a weird line there for a shirt. Love the expression, love the head sculpt. Your toy line and why it's in your top whatever is completely up to you. And for me to be able to play dress up with this figure and just make it my own, hey, that's a compliment to the figure. And that's why he's number 5. You can grab all this stuff that he's wearing on GPS lot. Love the little accessory. Perfect accessory. Perfect figure. Sometimes less is more. So let's move on to number 4. Not much else to say other than this was a big surprise, but this figure gives me a lot of joy. At number 4 is the main man, Lobo. He came with the Space Hog. I love this figure. I love the dog that he came with. I had to paint, listen, much like Ambush Bug, I did things to elevate this figure. I think he's fine out of the box. I think this head sculpt destroys the Storm Collectibles one. Where is that one? I'm not even gonna grab it. You can just disagree with me if you want. That's fine. I love this head sculpt. I love that expression. I added the cigar and the little smoke that's not smoking. It's kind of flat. I painted the guitar. Like I said, you do things to make the figure your own. Would it be just as good without the paint? I believe so because of that head sculpt. There's so much detail packed into this figure. You know, you did have to buy it with a vehicle, and it was Amazon exclusive. And it may have been $10 too expensive. With that being said, I love this piece. Got it way back in end of January, beginning of the year. Let's move on to number 3. Here's another one that surprised the heck out of me. This is not Clock King. This is Dr. Time. I love goofy stuff. And everything is pretty clean. Has a nice cuff on the hands for the gauntlets or the gloves, the cloth cape, which is the cheaper material, but gives you a lot of options for some dynamic posing. I like goofy stuff. You know, there's a lot of great figures. I'm going to go over that in my honorable mentions, but I just keep going back to staring at this figure on my shelf. This is my number 3. I don't know what else I could say. It just is what it is. Let's move on to number 2. Okay, here's one that's probably a little more important to your overall collection. It's a important villain. Classic villain, classic look. The Penguin. He also had a collector's edition or platinum that was in the Kenner colors, which is very fun, very smart. This is perfect. It was just at that Dopey collector's edition price, which is just a ripoff. I don't like it. He did not come with the cigarette and the cigarette holder. That is actually a, paper clip. A white paper clip. You paint half of it black. I put a little gold around it to be fancy. And then it's white and you dip the tip in red. You always want to dip your tip in the red. Now, he's perfect. What can you say? Simple, very simple. The subtle details I like is the execution in these wrinkles around his belly to make it look like that vest is like clinging on for dear life. That's a nice subtle detail. I love stuff like that. Those buttons are also clinging on to dear life. I love it. If he eats one more sandwich, that shirt is popping out. This Penguin is perfect. Other than not coming with the cigarette holder, that's WB. They're idiots. What can you do? Easily to make. Very fine figure. Did come with the umbrella. Let's move on to my number one. Oh, I'm an idiot. Let's move on to honorable mentions. Then, my number one figure of the year for DC Multiverse. Honorable mentions right now. Try and zip through this. He was very hard to find. Found her at GameStop. These two together look incredible. Nice wired cape. She came with the face plates. Her faces aren't the best, but they're not the worst. This looks great together. He could have maybe slipped into my top 5. He's very good. Good reuse of the movie Joker. Buck, painted very well. Let's move on to my next honorable mention. Love this little figure. One of his better head sculpts. I love the cloth wired cape. He even has a cloth wired hood. A lot of little subtle details. Very nicely done. This is how you execute an action figure. This is very nice. Let's keep it moving. This plastic man is near perfect, but he shouldn't have been a Build-A-Figure. He should have been a collector's edition. Came with all the parts. He did have an extra head with the Batman. He should have came with a lot of zany, like stretchy parts. This should have been a collector's edition with a bunch of stuff. Then it would have been worth $30. Big miss on McFarlane's part. I can't. Sometimes they make decisions that just really make no sense. Regardless, here's one of my favorite pickups of the year. This is what I like to call peanut butter and jelly. How freaking perfect. This is stunning. This is Joker. This is Batman in his first appearance. Why this isn't in my top 5? Because I never thought I really needed these. And listen, at the end of the day, it's not my Joker, and it's not my Batman. But the way they were executed make them must-haves. The wired capes, the sculpt work, have these on the shelf together. It is pure toy bliss. I love these two together. If this was a top 10, they would be in the top 10. So let's... I could really sit here for a while and do this honorable mentions. I really think he had a fun year. Despite the wackiness, despite the poor decisions, still managed to put out a lot of fun toys. I don't want to waste your time anymore. I will show you my number one. Didn't expect it to be my number one, but it's something that I just have on the shelf inside, and I love to stare at it. And I will tell you why now. And it's Jonah Hex, which was a McFarlane Toy Store exclusive. That part is crap, but that allowed the figure to come with guns, which is ridiculously important for this character. He has the rifle and the holster there, the 6 shooters. A lot of people complained about the horse. I think it's, they exaggerated. The horse isn't that bad. He has one huge blemish, and that's the way the articulation sticks out with the leg. And that's it. And really, if you get him in a pose with the leg up, it's not as bad. I don't want it to fall over. But we're not really talking about the horse. The horse was a bonus. If you hate the horse, get a Mythic Legions horse. The figure is what shines. He did something smart. And people, if you take that coat off, it does look wonky. Because he doesn't have shoulders. But you know why he doesn't have shoulders? It's so the coat would look seamless and wouldn't look bulky. The coat is meant to stay on. And when it stays on, it looks great. And they picked a thin material. When you use cloth goods and it's too thick It makes it look out of scale. It's the perfect thickness. I really love this release. Is it perfect? Nope. I just mentioned some things that weren't perfect. But overall, when you get it together, I freaking love it. I added some gold to the buttons to flesh it out. It's lacking paint here and there. The face is a little soft with the paint. The guns could have been, you know, weathered looking. The joints, the ball joints, aren't even painted. I don't care about that, all that. I don't. At the end of the day, when I sit here and stare at this figure, it just brings me a little bit of joy and happiness. He's one of my favorite pieces. So glad this figure came out. They did what they had to do to release it. If you can get this figure, do it. So worth it. So much fun. That's my top 5. Great year for DC Multiverse. Through all the ups and downs, they pumped out a lot of good, important figures. And I'm still having fun collecting this line. Still my favorite line to collect, actually. Weird, wild stuff. With that being said, let's take a look at the worst DC Multiverse figure released in 2024. Sergeant Rock, listen. In the same year where he gave us Jonah Hex, it would have been also awesome to have a great Sergeant Rock. This should have also been released as a McFarlane Toy exclusive because he didn't come with this Thompson. I had to spend $10 for it on eBay. He doesn't have the bandolier of bullets. He looks like Sinbad. It's just a fucking mess. It's just a mess. He shouldn't be this. The newer Sergeant Rock is jacked. I don't know. He reused the Bane legs and the Bane arms. The proportions are wacky. It's not a good figure. To me, this isn't Sergeant Rock. This is just some generic military dude. It's a stinker. The Platinum was much more fun. The Army Man version. This is a terrible release. Even people that were not DC Multiverse collectors in other groups that love like 70s and early 80s throwback type era characters. We're talking about how shit this is in the Plaid Stallions group. So, bad release. Can't win them all. And that's my top 5. That's my stinker of the year for comic book style DC Multiverse figures. Next week I will have movie figures top 5 for McFarlane. See you tomorrow. As always, take care. Have fun.
Things, you see. Things, objects, artifacts, paintings, and they are exactly what they appear to be. They never change. They never disappoint. There's the pure.
Woo! Like, comment, subscribe. Yeah!